So I have to say, I absolutely love this film. I'm a huge fan of Pedro's work anyway. But could you just kick us off by explaining, both of you, how you came to the project in the beginning and what Pedro told you about it?
He sent the script. I'd had the good fortune to work with him before on The Human Voice a couple of years earlier. And then he just sent me the script. He didn't even say it's about this or whatever. He just sent it, say, read this. And it was a very easy conversation to have. I remember him saying, and who do you think should play Ingrid? And I thought, oh, no pressure. Because there was one person and only one person in my mind. And I thought, oh, well, this is going to be a test. And I sent him this email with one name on it, two names, as it were. And he sent me one back, which crossed, and it was the same name.
No way.
You didn't tell me that.
Yes.
Aww.
So that was a very good start.
So nice.
Yes.
I didn't know that
yes.
story.
Yes. I can show you the emails.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So either it's telepathy or magic or some kind of
Just
filmmaking
incredible
genius.
good taste.
But I just opened up my email one morning, I had a cup of coffee, opened it up, and there was this email there. I was stunned. Really, it came completely out of the blue.
So what were your impressions of Ingrid when you first saw this?
I was intrigued by her, because I think that it's so, this depiction of female friendship is so unusual in film. I think often we see a lot of familial relationships, we see lots of romantic relationships, but something that's sort of so quotidian, something that's sort of so normal in our lives, which is having a friend, being with a friend, a female friend, is very rarely explored. So I was so touched by it. And that idea that what you do for a friend is to witness their life, is to be with them. And Ingrid is witnessing this particular point in this woman's life, this very, very urgent, very important part, So I was struck by that story and that situation, and it felt really very human.
And a long friendship as well, an old friendship. I was thinking about, why is it, in fact, that Martha, of all the people she could have asked, well, she's asked everybody else and they've all said no.
You did say that's right.
That's why. But also I wonder if this beautiful, renaissance of their bond must remind her of a time when they were so vibrant, when they were so kind of zinging with life. And she wants some of that at the end of her life, and she gets it. And even though they will have sat down over the course of the last few weeks, and I'm sure there will have been moments that are not in the film when Martha actually closes her mouth and Ingrid actually fills her in on things that have been going on with her. In the film, no, it's rather a lot of listening and Martha just, telling you the whole story of her life. But the reason that they are really kind of jamming off each other is that ancient bond of honesty and acceptance and fun also. I feel that they do have fun together.
So the history of their relationship when they were working at Paper Magazine in New York really comes through, but it's also what really struck me about their relationship is this respect, a deep professional and personal respect for each other. And there's none of the sort of tropes that we see with female friendship, because there's push and pull, there's moodiness, but then they just get over it. It's real. It feels very real.
There's no fantasy, I think. They're not fantasizing about what they might mean to each other. They're very honest, both of them, about what they are to each other. And they're writers, both of them, and they're narrators. I mean, the narrative of their story is just as interesting to them as the narratives that they both write. Ingrid is a novelist, and she's working imaginatively. And Martha is a war correspondent, and so she's actually dealing with a much more... She's the one who's been a witness all these years. But they have this, as you say, I think that's really right, Antonio, they have this mutual respect, which is... rarely looked at.
Do tell me about directly working with Pedro and what the shoot itself was like with him, because I just can't imagine a more amazing experience than the three of you together talking about the whole premise of the film. It's beautiful.
Well, there are hairy things to relate, which, have come out well, a few. But we were, I think I can share, my comrade. The thing about Pedro is that he works unbelievably fast. Yeah. And that is a challenge because when we made The Human Voice, I thought he was working fast because we were actually shooting only in 9 days. And it was COVID. And I thought, oh, well, it's just a speedy one. But I assumed that when we made a feature film, we would slow up a bit and we might get more than 2 takes. But no, we had to sort of beg for a third occasionally. These 5-minute monologue, really only 2 takes? Okay. And so it was a call to us to trust, which was, it wasn't hard, but it's a feat of faith. It's a faith in us, really. We had to really dig deep to go, really? You don't want to see what else I could do with this? You're clear? You want to move on? That was something. And we finished it incredibly fast. I mean, the film was cut by the time we finished shooting. I know that sounds almost impossible, but it's Pedro world, and that's what happens with Pedro.
And I think that I hadn't realized until I basically walked into his apartment how autobiographical all of his work is. I mean, honestly, the very first time that we sat down and read the script, I went in and I saw that red kitchen, and I'm like, I've seen that red kitchen in so many movies. And it's like I saw his whole life. I saw every film in that apartment. And so every time we did something, I thought, oh, he sees things very, very specifically. He's already kind of pre-visited in a way. And that became clear to us with each and everything that we did. And just in terms of the language, the way we were dressed, how he wanted our hair to be, everything was very personal to him. When I think seeing his films, I assumed that Pedro's films were, that was what Spain was like. And people told me, oh no, that's not Spain. That's not Spain, that's Pedro. That's him.
I had always thought it was what Spain was like too, like All About My Mother, and that the whole color scheme is there then.
I think I was just thinking as you were speaking that it's almost as if he's seen the film. He's the only person who's seen the film, and he's coming to the set every day to tell us what happens in this scene. Not what could happen, but he's already seen the film and he's reporting back from the front and saying, no, in this film, in this scene, you walk very, very fast and you slam the thing down on the table and then you jump on the chair. There's no question. That's what happens. Mm-hmm. And so you roll with it, and for good reason.
Tell me a little bit about the actual location and what it was like to be there together and spend that time in that house, the house where you actually go and do the deed.
Well, it was all Spain. So the movie is set, in New York City and upstate New York, but really, 85% of it was shot in Madrid and the outskirts of Madrid. So what was curious for me, as someone who lives in New York and knows it quite well, is how they managed to kind of activate those places in another country. So it was fascinating, actually, because so much of it was built on a stage, and then some of it was discovered, like that beautiful house that was about an hour outside of Madrid. It was, like I said, it's just that you have this curious experience of being inside Pedro's view of the world. And so that is not just how he's telling a story, but I think it's also the location. It's where he lives. It's where his creative life is. And so we sort of were able to join him there.
And it's the atmosphere. You immediately start to vibrate with the atmosphere. You know when you come into the house that the score by Alberto Iglesias is going to be with you. You know that you're going to be accompanied by that. It's a whole environment. I remember going into that house first. It's a beautiful house built by the owners and very beautifully decorated in very muted tones. And then a couple of weeks later, we went back and it had already been dressed. And there's the bright green sofa, and there's the bright red sofa, and there's the massive bowl of bright yellow mimosa in the middle of the room. And I remember Julie going, oh, we don't actually have that in upstate New York. And Pedro just going, well, I don't care. It really, really is not the point. It happens in the film that there is a massive bunch of mimosa in the middle of
It's
the room.
his dream, it's his dream of New York and upstate New York. Just in the same way that in his movies in Spain is like his dream of Madrid. It really is wonderful. You're inside his complete consciousness.
I am still processing. This film was so thought-provoking and feeling-provoking that I'm honestly still processing it. And I think I saw it over a week ago. And I keep thinking about, what he's saying about mortality and the meaning of our existence and what we want to leave in this world. And also, of course, with him, there's always a mother-daughter story. That's his heart, I think. Tell me what the story meant to you and what you've taken from it.
Well, in the first instance, I think that as a portrait of not only friendship, as we've already discussed, but this opportunity to not only be witnessed by, but witness a friend at the point of their, what I call dismount. It's such a beautiful portrait of that. It's such an empowered and calm and pragmatic and dignified portrait of witness. And beyond that, the more I think about it, the more it resonates with me, particularly in the seeing, even beyond the making. It's really the seeing of it that always makes something come alive for me, is what it's saying about our place in the world in general. I mean, we are all in the room next door to each other all the time, just as we are all in the room next door to Ukraine, to Gaza, to Jerusalem, to the United States of America, to Scotland, to Yemen, to Syria. That's our position. And in that sense, I think it is a political film, because it is about respect, and it's also, really importantly, about not looking away. And it may be a surprise to people, the calm and the sort of power of Ingrid's position, what she's asked to do. And at the beginning, she's asked to do something that's really difficult for her because she's really frightened in a way that some people aren't. But she morphs, or rather she develops, she evolves, and she grows this sense of calm and acceptance and through this respect. And I think that's really incredibly effectively done. It's much more than the sum of its parts.
And we are the witnesses of each other's history, and what Tilda said of the world's history. We're only remembered through others, So this kind of passing down, the storytelling. This is my life. Who's going to hold it? No one's going to hold that story except the person who's next to you, the person who's witnessed it. So there is something so beautiful about that, about knowing that that's how you live on. You live on by someone else telling your story. And so there's that beautiful moment, late in the film that I won't reveal, where Ingrid is able to say, this is what happened. I want to tell you because she told me. So now you know. So that thing about telling someone's story and holding it, witnessing it, knowing it, what we can all do for one another is a really important message. And I think that's what we're so moved by when we see the film.
And also, there is, certainly in Western culture, a delusion about dying, which is that it only happens to unlucky people. And, smash cut, breaking news. Every single last one of us is going that way. And we should be so lucky. I mean, being mortal is a great privilege. The sooner, I suggest, we get with that program, the better life will be, the more we'll relish it, and the better we'll live it. Because we won't be up some gum tree about dying being a failure. It's a triumph.
We're at the end, and I could talk about this film for so long with you. But just to say that whenever I come out of one of his films, I always feel like I want to be super direct and super honest, because that's all his characters are. They always just tell the truth. So that moment where Ingrid just tells the truth, she doesn't even shy away from it or sugarcoat it. She's like, this is it. Isn't it great? Do you ever just walk away feeling that way from working with him?
Yes, and I agree with you. I feel the same, Antonia. I mean, you watch his films for that. It's like it's like a knife grinder. It sort of sharpens your edge and your courage and your honesty.
And I think that the way that characters reveal themselves, I think people long to reveal themselves. They want to say, this is who I am, and this is what I think. And Pedro's characters have that power. And so then it empowers us, hopefully, to do the same, to reveal ourselves.
Congratulations. I love this film, if you couldn't tell. So thank you so much, both of you, for being here.
Thank you. Thanks so much.